Hey guys, my name is Marintia.
My name is Ama.
And this is the Girls Who Cook podcast. We shot episode 1 last night. Insane. How do you feel?
I feel pretty positive, way more positive than I thought I would. Yeah, because yesterday I was literally shaking when the video started, but I think I warmed up to the idea.
I love that.
Go watch the first episode. In the first episode, if you ever find yourself in jail, you would know one or two things to expect and what to bring, what not to bring. But don't go to jail, guys.
Yes, episode 1, we spoke about my co-host here going to jail in West Africa, Ghana for 17 days. And today's episode 2, is titled, I'm Not Chinese.
Yeah.
Let me just say, I visited China last year, loved it. I love Chinese people. I love Chinese food. This has nothing to do with me and Chinese people.
Yeah, no, but I'm laughing because I know exactly how it looks and how it sounds. It's like with all due respect, when someone's about to disrespect you. But this is not what that is. She's being so for real. I'm sorry. It's a real disclaimer, guys. We love Chinese people. We love China.
Yes.
Yeah.
This title has more to do with the fact that I'm just not Chinese. And there's a little story time.
A story, guys. That's why I also keep smiling. But we'll get into it slowly. But also, let's give a broad or brief, if you like, overview of what everyone else should expect in today's episode. I would say we're going to be doing a deep dive into Marintia's background.
Yikes.
I feel like a lot of people see her and would just say, okay, maybe curly hair. She definitely has like some African in her, but she's Asian. And we'll leave it as that because it would probably be really hard. But I can also imagine living in Ghana and knowing my people and knowing me being Ghanaian. I can imagine a lot of like immediate, oh, you're from China, or you're Chinese.
And what Ama just mentioned is I look Blasian because I'm African Asian.
Yes.
But I would like to say that out of the Blasian people, there's a spectrum of looks and appearances. I definitely lie on the more Asian side. So that would tie into what you said about people thinking I'm Asian right away. But
I'm pretty sure we'll get into this deeper, but I'm pretty sure it may depend on like the context and where you're at.
Yeah.
And how the people, depending on where you're at, would view you as either more on the African side or more on the Asian side. Would you
Totally.
say? Yeah.
I mean,
we'll
even
get into all that.
Yeah, we'll get into all that.
Yeah. But apart from that, first we're going to be doing a deep dive into just Marintia's background, her ethnicity, her nationality, her parents. We're going to be. Yeah, we'll be respectful and everything, but we're going to... I said a deep dive, guys. A deep dive.
I'm scared.
Also, no, don't be scared. Also,
Okay.
We're going to be talking about nightlife in Japan because Marintia has lived a substantial amount of her life in Japan, I want to say. Well, between Japan, Ghana, US, Canada even.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. There's so much also of my life that obviously we spent apart so you don't know about. So I'm excited to fill you in about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, I moved to Japan 2 years ago.
Marintia was a bartender.
I was a bartender in Japan for a second.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, I was a bartender in Japan.
Oh my
I mean, there's just so much. Yeah, Japan. Anyways, yes, that's what we're going to get into. For everyone watching, please rate this podcast 5 stars, subscribe to the YouTube channel.
And
let's get sponsor us, and let's get into this episode.
Yeah.
Okay, where do we begin, Ama?
Where do we begin? Okay, so do you want to just kind of tell us about your background in particular? So your dad is Ghanaian?
Yes. My dad is Ghanaian and my mom is Japanese. I was born in Japan, but I moved to Ghana when I was 2. And I've spent majority of my life, I would say, in Ghana. But I left Ghana after elementary school back to Japan, spent middle school years in Japan. Then I spent 1 year randomly homestaying in Canada. I think my parents were just tired of me, so they were like, let's send her off to go to school somewhere.
Wait, so what were you doing?
I was going to school.
Yeah, but who was homeschooling you? Like who?
Homestay, not homeschool. So I was going to school, homestay program. You're right. Maybe people don't know about this.
Yeah, I don't know about it.
Okay, so homestay program is basically you get to go and study in another country and stay with a family that's there. The family takes care of you.
Oh, yeah, no, I know. Oh, yeah.
So that's what I did in Canada. Yeah.
Oh, so did you were you with like with a company? Or?
I did it with a family, but it was through it being a family friend.
Right, but what were you going there for? Like, what did
For
you
school, high school.
Oh.
Yeah. So I
see.
spent in Ghana.
Was it day school?
Yeah, day school. So it would be considered high school in Canada and America. In Ghana, it would be considered SHS.
Right.
In Japan, it would be considered Koko Se. So high school.
Kokose?
Yeah.
Right.
So long story short, I spent 1 year in Canada.
Okay.
Then I came back to Ghana and decided to finish high school in Ghana before going to college, which I did in Atlanta at Georgia Tech. So guys, episode 1, we spoke about me being a college dropout.
Yes, but like it's a different kind of flex to be a Georgia Tech school dropout.
No, not gonna lie. I need to
think
slide it in.
Now, yeah. I think we can't just call you a school dropout.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm not that dumb, guys. But thank you. I'm not too dumb.
No,
but yeah.
So before we do the second question that I have, guys, a little ASMR moment.
ASMR moment. Yeah. For our audio only listeners, we have our beverage of the day. Yeah. We don't want to say the name because they're not sponsoring us, but it's called the Green Bull, okay? We
even have a black tape over it, but also
ice.
We have, but what's holding the ice, guys? Especially for our audio only listeners, we decided to incorporate these really cute cups. Gosh, I wish you could just like have a sneak peek on YouTube. It's so cute. Anyway, we have ice in it, and we're about to do a little pouring. Yeah. What did you say? Blue bowl, right?
Blue bowl, sorry. It sounds like blue balls. We should make it green bowl for sure.
Oh
like definitely not blue balls. Yeah.
What's the color
of your cup? So this is ice.
Yeah. What's the color of your cup?
My cup is purple and have some ice in it, and then we're gonna put some Red Bull. Are you ready?
Wait. Take. Open your thing, because I'm ready to drink. My mouth is so dry.
Okay. Wow, that's not good. Are you ready to hear the opening sound first?
Oh no, I missed it.
Oh, that was great.
That was good.
Guys, we need the sponsorship, guys. Which sponsor us? Okay, are you ready? Here we go.
Actually, I think I'm whispering.
I need my face in the shot. Here we go.
This slaps.
That
cooks.
That girls who cook.
Like this
we
cooks.
cook. We cook with that one.
Damn.
Oh my gosh.
We just made a meal.
Okay, so can we talk about, before we get into this topic, just a little bit about girlhood? It's so bad. We literally do girl dinner every night, which is Red Bull. It's so bad.
It's really bad, guys.
It's so bad. We need to eat healthier.
Sponsor us.
Yeah. You know how girlhood, there's healthy girlhood, there's unhealthy girlhood. And I think you and I, we're going through a little bit of an unhealthy era. Anyways, let's get into today's episode.
Sure. Especially with our terrible eating habits. Or rather, lack thereof. Exactly. Okay, so let's get into today's episode. From what I hear, you're going to be interviewing me, it seems like. I'm going to be interviewing you. I have a ton of questions for you. But also, let's just take steps back into the conversation that we had before we open up our blue bowl. Marentia.
Okay.
You keep saying, okay. So.
No, but let's be for real. What was the point of that? You just pretty much set me up for the joke of mentioning blue balls again. Anyways, sorry. Let's go back.
It's like you can't help yourself.
I really can't. Okay, let's go.
This girl likes boys a lot. Just for the record.
Hearsay, Your Honor.
Future husband.
Hearsay, Your Honor.
Hearsay. Alleged. Everything we say is alleged. Anyway, so like I was saying, how did you ever hear the story about how your parents met? Like, I can imagine like a Ghanaian, like a West African man, you know?
Why did you say West African like that? A West African man?
Like, when I think of like the French African, I can't say the French Africans. No, it's okay. But there's no bad connotation to either. It's just like West African man.
How did they meet?
I'll leave it at that. But like, how did they meet? Because your mom is also full Japanese. Correct?
Yes. Okay, so let me tell you what I think happened as to how they met.
Wait.
Yeah.
You're telling us what you think because you never heard the story?
So, you know, sometimes when a memory is so far away, you don't know if you made it up or if it's actually something someone told you.
So you've not had a recent conversation? with
No.
either of them about this. Okay.
I don't talk to them that much. Yeah. Anyways, moving on. So, how my parents
Real.
met. How my parents met. My mom, even though she's Japanese, she went to university in America. Funny enough.
I'm so sorry. Please go ahead. Funny enough.
And by the way, guys, no one.
Sorry, you said funny enough.
Wow, you're in one of those moods today, huh? I love it. Okay, funny enough, my mom went to college in Georgia, the same state that I went to college in. And let me tell you why it's rare for a Japanese person to go to university in America, okay? Okay, Japanese people are the opposite of Ghanaian people in terms of Ghanaian people like leaving Ghana to go to university in other countries, not even just school, work, traveling, exploring. Japanese people, actually the visual of the country represents how they are. It's an island. They like to seclude. They like to be to themselves. They don't really like to explore other countries.
Would you say they're very nationalistic in that sense?
Sure, but also it's like a little bit of just not wanting to go outside of their comfort zone. So my mom was already quite a non-traditional Japanese person in terms of going to university in America. So she could speak English when she met my dad. My dad, on the other hand, was working in Japan. So he was working in Japan, learned Japanese while he was working there. I think their best...
What did he work as?
So actually, funny enough, I have a whole video...
I'm sorry.
I have a whole video coming on my YouTube channel talking about every single job my dad did in Japan until he got to where he is now in Ghana.
Guys, go subscribe to Marenta's YouTube channel. It's Marenta Eiko.
Yeah, a little bit of context. My dad does have a hotel in Ghana, but the cool thing about when he came to Japan this year was he told me everything from the first job he had in Japan till the last job he had. So when he asked me,
a little daddy baby girl moments.
Yeah.
Cute.
Yeah. 100%. I think I was definitely a daddy's girl growing up, or like wannabe. I would just follow him. Like I would follow him around everywhere. He would just pay no mind to me, but it's fine. Yeah, so they met because they both were living in Japan and their best friends introduced them to each other. So my dad's best friend, who was Ghanaian, was dating a Japanese woman who was my mom's best friend.
Marentia,
Yeah.
what are you doing in my life?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? What do I mean? Why am I still... Okay, I know why I'm single. Never mind. I need to find you someone. Never mind. Go
Period.
ahead.
Like, since when did you want to get married?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's probably why. But that's not why.
Okay,
but go on still.
Anyways, that's how they met. I don't know if I made that up or if that's true. I tend to lie sometimes. I don't know why I do that.
Okay, do you mind telling us when you don't know the answer, that you don't know first, and then
oh my gosh,
go off?
I've never thought of that before, but I think I should really start doing that. Okay, so anyways, yeah, that's how they met. How did your parents meet? Do you know? Your parents are both Ghanaian.
Oh, me. I remember they said a story about how my mom was standing by the roadside and my dad, I don't know, like he had a best tie or something, and then he stopped, and then she wasn't checking for him, but then he was persistent, and then they exchanged numbers. And then this was around their village. Like around the Volta region. It's a region in Ghana, that's in West Africa. And then fast forward, they met up in Tema. Like he called her after she wouldn't pick up for some time. And then I think he was persistent, like I said, and he got a date. Not a date. I don't think they did dates, but they met up and so on.
Oh, wow. Love.
Yeah, but like going back to how your parents met, do you think for you something like that could like just blossom from someone? Like, do you think I would not be wasting my time actually scoping out, you know, trying to set you up? Do you think...
So are you trying to set me up? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm asking you, what are the prospects?
Okay, so let me tell you the type of person I need, okay? He needs to be at least... How tall am I? I'm 7 feet. He needs to be 8 feet tall, at least 4 layers of abs.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
If it goes to 6, amazing. If it goes to 8, even greater.
The abs is stuff from his neck.
Yeah. No, but to be fair, what's your favorite body part on a partner?
That's so random.
This is so random, but let's just answer.
On women, oh god, it's embarrassing. I'm such an ass girl. It's so embarrassing. Like, no, it's actually ridiculous because
Okay, why is
first
it
off, when I
ridiculous?
used to drive a lot, I would just let them pass in front of me all the time, just to say I'm giving them way. But like,
You're like a man.
shut up. This is what I say. My friends say
like a
about me, and
man.
you just did it, and you did it.
In front of them. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
whatever.
I mean,
Anyways,
If I
what
didn't say
about
it, they
you?
would've
Oh
said
well,
it.
on a guy.
abs.
No, yeah, me, I'm not on all of that.
The abs, eh?
Guy.
I'm saying abs way too much in this episode.
No, we know you love abs.
Oh, sorry.
We know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a guy, maybe I want to say, like, I just hope his body's elongated.
Okay, let's move on back to this topic.
Wait,
yeah.
I said his body's elongated. The way you just switched to that made it sound like I said something else was elongated, and I never would.
It's up to your own interpretation. Anyway, so that's how my parents met. Yeah.
It's cute.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about, I guess, which side you kind of resonate more with, identify more with, lean more towards, or if it's seasonal? I want to hear about that because, like,
Okay.
my ethnicity is monotonous. You understand? Yeah, so I can only feel Ghanaian and West African, like.
Okay.
So yeah. Tell me, on which days do you feel more? Does it work like that? It's like, how does it work?
A question I got a lot growing up was like, do I like Ghana more? Do I like Japan more? I think I went in phases. Elementary school years, when I was a kid, I hated both. I hated Ghana and Japan.
Oh,
because
why?
when I was a kid, I was a lot more sensitive. Like, I didn't like the fact that when I was in Ghana, like, I'd be called Obroni, which obviously, like, when you grow up, you realize that it's not even anything. And then I also didn't like the fact that in Japan, I was called Gaijin, which also is, like, it's not necessarily a bad term. It just means foreigner. You know what I mean? So, like, I just used to not like the fact that whichever country I went to, I was a foreigner. So I was like, I'm going to make an island with all Blasian kids, and we're not going to let Ghanaian people or Japanese people come on the island.
Oh, I see.
But obviously, as time has gone, my thoughts have changed. My dad actually used to tell me when I was a kid, he was like, yeah, but you know, Obroni in Ghana doesn't have a negative connotation. There's a lot also behind that word and the history behind it and how it's praised a little bit and the privilege that comes with it. So it's a little bit of a tricky situation. To everyone watching, Obroni means what? It's a tree term.
It's just a term, yeah. So it's in one of our local dialects called tree, and it basically means foreigner, I want to say. But I think specifically Caucasian foreigner. I don't know. I think it's foreigner. I want to say just foreigner. Like, I think Caucasian because I think white foreigner. But then again, I feel like anyone that has like lighter tones, they're likely to just refer to us as Obroni. But also, when you were talking about Hafe, it reminded me of
Sounds like cafe?
the word mulatto in Ghana.
Oh, what does that mean?
Oh, so it's kind of like Obroni, but that definitely has a more negative connotation to it. It refers to biracials. I just remembered in school when we were learning this subject that we tend to learn a lot of the time in a lot of West African countries, social studies, and I think religious and moral education. You learn that these words are bad. They had a whole historic context to it, but yeah, it was just exactly like how you explained. Well, no, not exactly like that, because if I don't know if I'm saying it right, but that word you didn't say had a negative connotation, right?
I mean, it never did growing up. Again, this is something about the internet and social media. A lot of terms and a lot of conversations that you wouldn't have gotten canceled for 5-10 years ago now would be cancelable, right?
Yeah.
Because even with comedy, we see a lot of like lines and where the lines are changing.
Yeah.
But the word you just mentioned, mulatto, right? I remember going to the slave castles in Ghana. I was taking my friends who were visiting Ghana a long time ago. And I remember the tour guide mentioning this. I don't know if it's accurate, so let me know. I remember him mentioning half caste used to be used a lot, but then it's now more seen derogatory.
That's correct. Like mulatto.
It's seen derogatory because back in the day, the slave masters who would come would be white, and if they would have a baby with a Ghanaian woman, the kid would be half caste. So that was like the negative backstory behind that word. Being raised in Ghana, so many conversations, way we speak, terms we use are cancelable terms or conversations in America, I would say. But because we're used to it here, whenever I travel abroad, I always find myself like reacclimating to finding the right balance of what I'm allowed to say and what I'm not allowed to say.
Wow.
So like 100%,
yeah.
the cultural
No, but-
context that you come from 100% plays a role.
You know how you talked about the different ways in which you'd feel depending on where you were, whether you were in Japan or you were in Ghana. What were some of your biggest culture shocks? You know, in both places? Like you could give like one for each or two for each.
So I don't think I had culture shock in the sense of how other people would have it, because usually it's when you just live in one particular place and you all of a sudden go. Because I was going back and forth my whole life, I was never really shocked. I was just more aware of the differences. I mean, honestly, in my household, just how my parents are was enough to see the differences in like the cultures.
What do you mean?
I mean, my dad is always late. I'm sorry, I hate to tie this to being Ghanaian, but GMT, Ghana man time, like my dad is always late. My mom, Japanese, on time.
You're always late.
That my dad's genetics runs deeply in me, but my mom, on the other hand, always on time, ahead, everything, bum, Japanese woman.
Yeah.
Now, I need to mention something that will be beneficial, like a pro of Ghana, because I don't want you guys to come for me. But another, like, let's say, part of my dad being Ghanaian that I notice, it's his flexibility and his open-mindedness and how, like, more...
Oh, then you get a lot from your dad.
not rigid he is. Japanese people tend to be more within the confines of the walls in whatever context. So just being in my house, I see like the two more. I remember saying that like when I was younger, I had those feelings about Ghana and Japan. I would like to say, reiteration now, I grew up to love Ghana. Ghana obviously is where I spent majority of the years growing up. So then Ghana just to me feels like home. But
How was high school in Ghana? Just like...
to me, honestly, I had a great time. Like, prior to that, I spent...
Were you in boarding school?
No, I was in day school. So I went to day school, high school in Ghana. I loved it. Like, I came back from Canada, and it was like, from living by myself with, like, another family to coming back to being around my parents. My upbringing is also a little bit unusual. I didn't really spend time with my parents growing up. So just being back around them, going to school. And my cousins and all my childhood friends were here. So coming back for high school was like the perfect little cushioning period of like being with people I love before going off into adulthood. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Anyways.
You know something I'm curious about?
What?
So we have on our cue card sheet under like, what do you consider yourself? Will I marry a Ghanaian or Japanese? I'm actually interested about you. I know you're not interested in marriage, but in terms of partners, do you have particular races, ethnicities that you're drawn to? Because I feel like because I'm obsessed with K-pop, everyone thinks I want to marry Jackson Wang, and they're very, very right. I would love to marry Jackson Wang tomorrow, right now, this second. Yes, I will.
You're ready.
However, it doesn't mean I particularly am drawn to Korean men. Like, I don't have a fetishization towards a race or nationality.
Like, yeah, I don't know that people have like their types based off of
They do, trust me.
of ethnicity.
Let me tell you how I know.
Tell me.
Tell
me.
Growing up, something that's always been a red flag for me and always something I'm not drawn to is when men tell me, and if I'm being honest with you, no, it goes for both Japanese and Ghanaian, but I would say a lot more Ghanaian men I've experienced say this to me when they say, I want to have children like you, or like I've always wanted to date someone like you, like a mixed person. There's this will be a whole different episode, but there's a little bit of an underlying connotation, weird tendencies in Ghana about looking up to white or foreign races. I feel like there's that weird thing that traces back from, you know, slavery till now. And even in dating, I noticed that a lot. Light skin privilege was real for me in Ghana. Honestly, I feel like light skin privilege is real. Was real in Ghana, like in terms of you could be a mid, like you could be a 6 out of 10, but just because you're light skinned, you'd be an 8 out of 10. You know what I mean? Like I feel like those privileges are for real.
Oh my god, no comments.
Anyways, but yeah,
you. And I love this conversation we're getting into because for me, what's jumping in my head is just the topic of colorism, but also with your peculiar background. So what I mean by that is like colorism in the context of Ghana, how it could be seen as a privilege, and then colorism in the context of, say, when you were in the US, and then also when you were in Japan.
Totally different. So let's dive into this.
And then the spectrum of whether you were seen more as Asian or African at different times. Yeah. Or like black or, you know, Asian. Yeah.
And I would actually love to hear how you feel perceived when you travel to different African countries as well. Ghana. Growing up, I feel like in Ghana, I definitely felt certain circumstances where I had light-skin privilege. I felt like light-skinned boys and light-skinned girls were always in demand from partners or like in terms of dating. I think people were just naturally always like, you're so pretty, or like, you're so this, I love your hair, this, that, and the other. So I feel like that was a big part of light-skin privilege in Ghana. In Japan, when I walk anywhere, a lot of the times they already assume that I'm kind of like strong. Or like I'm
strong
bold.
In what sense?
Like strong, bold,
like
confrontational. So like if I was in a club, like the normal Japanese person wouldn't try me. You know what I mean? Whereas I feel like in Ghana, it would be the opposite. Because I'm light skinned, I could get tried more because I kind of look soft.
Wait. What do you mean tried?
Like, let's say like stealing or like whatever. Like I feel like I'd be seen more soft in Ghana.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, and in Japan, I'd be seen as hard. So in Ghana, I felt like I had the light skin privileges. In Ghana, a lot of things that, for example, like if I were Japanese and I was walking around in Japan, in America, and I got called Chinese, like it would be a cancelable thing, you know?
Right.
Whereas like in Ghana, it's not seen too seriously. Yeah, because in Ghana, literally from when I was a kid till now, like people see my mom crossing the street or me and they'll be like Chinese lady or Chinese woman. But we'll get into that later on. But
sorry, do you know what that reminded me of? Oh my goodness, when we used to vlog. There was this, do you remember?
Oh, when we went to the market and stuff, or what?
I think so. And
I'm so used to it.
No, not in the market. Me. Right? That's the thing. Like, you think you're so woke and politically correct. But then in the video, she was like, she can't see something in the video. And I was like, oh, yeah, I made a stupid joke.
Oh, I don't remember.
And then I think...
Wow, they didn't cancel you for it? So that
in the comments, people were like, oh, Amma, that was racist.
Oh, really?
I went back so quick. I said, what did I do? What did I say? But apparently I was like,
but you see...
Oh, you can't see because you're...
Okay, but another thing, that type of joke, right, is our generation. Us as 25-year-olds, the reason why I'm not offended by that is like,
I hear you.
Our generation, we used to make racial jokes like when we were in middle school, high school, and it wasn't around cancel culture times.
I feel you.
Yeah, obviously now it's very,
but
very
now
different.
I'm happy to learn like more of the context.
I hear you. Yeah. So now moving from Ghana to Japan, in Japan, I feel like I'm seen as I'm hard. Japan is very interesting because I would say that a lot of the biracial kids who grew up in Japan will tell you that how they feel about their race now as an adult is very different from how they felt about their race when they were kids. What I mean by that is like when I was I didn't grow up in Japan, but I hear from a lot of biracial people that they experience bullying, intense bullying, as in like, why is your skin dirty, why is your hair looking like that type bullying, right? I remember when I was in middle school in Japan, there was a boy, he's in the soccer team, like the typical jock, macho type guy. There was a time where we were giving presentation about our childhood or something. This mucho strong guy, he was Nigerian Japanese mix. He starts sharing a story about his elementary years and how he was bullied in elementary school, and he starts crying. And there's just something about a boy or a man crying that hits a little bit different. And I was like, damn, like these biracial kids really went through intense bullying in Japan. And in Ghana, it's a little bit different. It's like we get teased, but expect to like handle the teasing and go and deal with life. You can figure your life out. In Japan, I think the bullying...
also, it never gets to like a group of boys kicking you. And
yes, exactly.
It's like jokes and like... I'm just talking about what we've seen what we saw when we were growing up. Go on.
Exactly, because I even have a podcast on my YouTube channel. I even have a video on my YouTube channel where this Japanese rapper who's African American and Japanese talks about being beat up by 5 boys, this, that, and the other. So I feel like biracial kids in Japan, when they were younger, were seen as negative things, right? Now, the modeling industry, music, athletes.
yeah.
All of that.
They're popping
all
off.
of us
Like,
biracial
they're
people.
popping off.
Naomi Osaka in Japan, all the rappers and like
Naomi.
models and friends that I have were thriving, like doing jobs in this creative scene because we're seen as wanted.
Yeah.
Even when I go into the studio, I'm working on music. If I tell them I'm working on music, even without hearing my music, they're like, I would love for you to come and perform. Just because honestly, I think also, to be fair, I do have like a following, so that probably ties into it. But I think high key is because I'm black. High key, I think, is because I'm black. So there's that type of privilege when you grow up in Japan.
And I feel like after they fight, I can imagine, obviously I would never know, I can imagine that after they fight through the trauma and they learn kind of the context of why they went through all of the things they went through, and they like grow into themselves and become more confident in themselves, then they also have community, right? And like they're able to talk, like when you felt like, oh, okay, I'm packing all my Blasian friends and we're going on, like just building that community and growing into yourself. I can imagine that adds to their self-confidence, and in the long run they're just like, what, I'm actually so awesome, and have all these
America is where I felt less outside.
Like a foreigner?
Yeah. I felt least like an outsider in America. Because in America, they just assume I'm light-skinned or like I'm just American.
Yeah.
It helps that America has
Like,
a
they
range.
just assume I'm sure that you're black. Like, they're just like, oh, this black woman. Like, black
so
woman.
I feel like America's the only place where I don't have to worry about people commenting about my race. Yeah, so I definitely
I feel like people are also hyper, so I guess these are like pros of being political in that regard, because like, making people feel comfortable without even trying, like just being hypersensitive about the topic of race, so that then you are not ever making someone feel uncomfortable by it, because you would imagine that a lot of the reasons why you were so uncomfortable as a kid, being called a bruni, being called hefe, and all of those things, it would probably be because people didn't have too much of a background or context into like how this could make someone feel,
right?
And so it was just like, oh, but anyway, nowadays too, there's more information compared to before, so I can imagine that has helped. But also, I'm going to do this real quick fire.
Yeah,
you need to say one or the other.
Okay, I'm scared.
One or the other.
Yes, this is not in the cue cards, guys.
Who are you more likely to marry? Ghanaian or Asian? Come on, African or Asian? Quick! You're
I have
too
to
slow.
pick between the two.
Huh? Yeah.
What if I want to marry an alien?
So will the alien be African or Asian? Too slow.
Would the alien be African or Asian?
Oh no, you failed the test. Too slow. Again.
I can't pick. How am I gonna pick between an African man and an Asian man? Can I not marry both?
Okay, I guess really my question or my curiosity is for you right now, when you imagine your future, when you imagine, even though you don't know if you're going to get married or not, for you as a girl in your 20s right now, I know you said you don't know if you want to get married or not, but for me, when I see you, I think you're leaning towards that, so let's just go with that. But okay,
my thing with marriage is that I would love to get married. I think it's a lovely thing to be with someone. Yes. But to me, more than wanting to get married, I want to meet someone I want to get married to. So it doesn't go vice versa for me. Like, if I don't meet anyone I want to get married to, I'm also totally living my life, like, alone. I don't want to get married by force to someone I slightly like just because I want to get married.
Yeah, so when you imagine this married life, what do you imagine this person looks like in terms of... Okay, let me leave it at that. What would they look like if you had to describe them using single words? Actually, that's what I want you to do. I want you to use single words.
Guys, if you're in your 20s, especially if you're around 23 to 25, I need to know if you can relate. I'm trying to think about where I'm going to get food tomorrow night. I'm trying to think about how I'm going to get $1 million in my bank. I'm trying to think about how I'm going to get 1 million viewed reel. I'm thinking about things that are so far from family, marriage, and I don't even have a boyfriend right now. The question you just asked, what kind of man I'm going to marry, I could not even tell you if he has 3 or 2 eyes.
All right, so I shouldn't just think human being. I guess alien is on the table as well.
Of course I love my alien people.
Though. So you don't know what he looks like. Also in terms of race, you don't...
I have no idea. I have no idea if I'm going to marry a person from Dubai, from Egypt, from Thailand, from Japan, from Ghana, from Switzerland, from Spain.
Okay, then tell me tell me about your type, because it doesn't sound like your type has anything to do with like, you know, ethnicity or race.
Okay.
But if it does, please, we're interested to know.
I love how you ask these questions when you already know the answer, because Amma and I talk about this off camera all the time. I have a type for every different type of country, like a man I find attractive for every country. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, as long as they're attractive to me in whatever country, I feel like you feel that way about partners, no?
No, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I would say, yeah.
But there's one thing that for us is kind of non-negotiable, no matter what the country is.
But let's say it on three. 3, 2, 1, height.
I thought you were going to say yes,
girlhood.
and I was going to say hi.
Girlhood.
But that was so girlhood.
Girlhood.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of girlhood, I want to give you a little bit of insight to my time in Japan.
Please do.
So
I have a lot of questions. Yeah.
Amazing. Last episode, we came back on social media. We've been off social media for 2 years. During the time we were off social media, I was living in Japan pursuing music. So I know a lot of people are interested in moving to Japan, living in Japan. Why? Because Japan closed their borders during COVID. So now that the borders are open, everyone and their best friends and their sugar daddies and their aunties,
mamas,
they all want to come to Japan. But what do you think Japan is like?
I think when I think of Japan, I just think of really bright city lights, really fancy, shiny looking, fast trains. I think of a lot of roadside restaurants. I think of like high level technology for some reason. I think of one thing I think of I think Japan is what a lot of Africans think the USA is.
Interesting.
That's so funny. I've never put those in words, but that's exactly what I think. I think how, and I'm talking in particular about how I know a lot of Africans idolize the idea of like the American dream. And I think the American dream is being lived in real life in Japan by Japanese people in Japan. Yeah. No, I think also Japan, for me, on a international political scale, I think it's like Japan, Germany for me. And I think these are like top countries in the world. So that's what I think of. I think of opportunities. I think of money. I think of, that's what I think of.
I'm a little bit biased, but I totally agree with you in Japan being one of the top countries in the world, because growing up, like I said, I never imagined myself living in Japan. I was just like, Japan has too many restrictions. The one time I've worked in Japan when I was in high school was at a green tea store. And the manager didn't want my hair to be fluffy, but also didn't want me to use hair products. So I was like, number one, I'm definitely not going to be able to work in corporate Japan because stress. So I could just never imagine a world in which, like, because Japanese people, they're very sensitive to smells. Like most products, a lot of Japanese people, they actually don't sell deodorants in Japan because Japanese people and some Korean people, apparently they have a genetic, they are missing the genetic, or they're missing something where their armpits don't smell, basically.
No way.
Deadass. And it's so true because my mom doesn't use deodorant. And a lot of Asian people, no one in Japan in my family, apart from you.
Okay, apart from you.
Yeah, I'm Ghanaian. I'm sorry. I use deodorant morning and evening. Thank you. Yes.
Thank God.
Yes. 24-hour Dove. Yes.
So, you know how I was just talking about how I view Japan in just the context of, I guess, very much an outsider, someone who has never been, someone who's only really mainly heard of Japan, not even through their media, really through other English-speaking media and just like people putting forward a narrative of Japan. Yeah. But this is someone who has frequented Japan all too often, and also is Japanese, and is just very intimately familiar with Japan. And I have a ton of questions about things that I would really never find about, like about the nightlife. Like, I really want to know about the nightlife. I want to know about your time working in Japan. I want to know about just also how you interact with other biracial, Japanese, African people in Japan. And just like your entire life there. Where did you live?
Yeah.
What did you do?
Okay.
What did you eat? Where did you go?
What did
you wear?
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's start with this. What are the things you need to do on your first trip to Japan? If you want to explore Japan fully, you need to definitely do more than Tokyo. You should do Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto. I feel like those 3 cities for a first trip solid. Now, what do those 3 cities offer? Tokyo, you get the stereotypical Japan things that you expect. The lights, the city, the nightlife, the anime, the food, Shibuya Crossing,
anime, yeah.
Harajuku, kawaii, all that kind of stuff. I can't believe I just said kawaii. You get all that kind of stuff in Shibuya, like Tokyo, okay? Osaka, they have Universal Studios Japan. And Osaka is also the equivalent of, let's say, Kumasi in Ghana. It's not Accra, but it's the second next like popular city. So the people there are a lot more extroverted. There's difference in the
What's
culture.
the name?
Osaka.
Oh, Osaka.
Osaka. So the interesting thing is, depending on the part you visit in Japan, people also have different personalities. Osaka is more like a lot of comedians are from there. So the people there are louder. They are more flamboyant and they're more extravagant.
I think people say that about Kumasi people.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So Osaka's like that. There's Universal Studios, so that's definitely a visit. Kyoto, why I would definitely recommend you should visit.
I'm so sorry. Context, Kumasi is what? The biggest city? No, it's the biggest.
Oh, the biggest city in Ghana.
Yeah, isn't it? I think so. Correct me if I'm wrong, but no, it is. It is. Kumasi is the biggest city in Ghana, which is in West Africa. Yeah, please go on.
And Kyoto, I would recommend for sure because that's where you get to experience cultural, traditional Japan. You can go to all the temples, shrines. You can go to Kinkakaji, which is a temple made out of gold.
Wait, gold?
Yes.
Is it like a ton of security around it?
No, it's a building. But also another thing.
Be chipped.
So in Japan, like, I mean, you just can't do that. There's security, there's order.
Right.
Imagine a country with order. Imagine a country with police who actually work the correct way. Imagine a country with a system.
It's the shade.
No shade.
Me.
So
no
what
shade, no tea.
No shade, no tea. So Kyoto, Tokyo, Osaka, definitely places you need to do in your first trip to Japan. Nightlife in Japan. It depends on what you want.
Okay.
As someone who's African and
what's
Asian,
other options?
The good thing,
nightlife in Japan.
The good thing about Japan is that they have an option for everyone. Even with food, even with nightlife, you'll find a place that does African music. You'll find a place that does Latin music. You'll find a place that does unta music. You'll find a place that does anime music.
What's
I'm
that?
sure. Unta. You see, it's not really my genre, but I reckon unta Ibiza type vibes.
Oh, I see. Oh my goodness.
But basically, there's a place for everyone. I'm just gonna talk about what I'm familiar with.
Please.
I listen to rap, hip hop, and Afrobeats mainly when it comes to nightlife.
Okay.
What I would recommend you do. Shibuya for sure. There's a bunch of bars. I love going izakaya hopping.
Shibuya is a bar.
Shibuya is a town in Japan.
Okay.
And Shibuya, I would recommend to start your night. There's a bunch of izakayas.
Like the whole town?
So there's a bunch of izakayas, and izakayas are like Japanese traditional bars. So what I would recommend is that you go bar hopping with your friends, and then after that...
Wait, sorry, what does a traditional Japan bar look like? Like, what do you mean traditional in that sense?
So drinking culture in Japan is big. Like, people drink every day a lot. All the time.
Not
it's
just
big,
celebratory.
In Ghana, I realized we don't drink that much. Ghana, you don't drink to operate. Like in Japan, I feel like people drink to survive a little bit. But there's a big drinking culture in Japan.
Okay.
So it's more like the finger foods, the type of alcohol they have. It's like izakaya. Lemon sour is like a typical Japanese young person drink. It's like lemon vodka soda type thing.
Oh, okay.
And the finger foods, the yakitori, which is like kebab.
Oh,
Anyways, so Shibuya I recommend for izakayas. Pyramid 55 is a dope bar. It's owned by a Nigerian. They play Afrobeats. I like going to...
Guys, we're getting like the real deeds. I love it.
It's so...
I love it.
It's so bad because I've forgotten all the names of the places and I've only been in Ghana for 1 month now. So I'm trying to remember the names of the places that I go to.
How? You were there for 2 years, no?
I know, but I've been in Ghana for 1 month and I've already forgotten. For nightlife, so apart from after you finish a Shibuya I like at the beginning of the night, the bars, that type of thing. How I would actually recommend you start your night out in Japan is to go to a convenience store and get a chuhai. Chuhai is like the equivalent of Four Locos in America. It's like a canned seltzer drink. It's like 9%, 7%, but it's very, very strong. It'll have you fucked up real fast. So you go to a convenience store, you grab a chuhai, you drink it on the train ride on the way to your destination. By the time you get to the destination, you're a little bit buzzed already. You get to Shibuya, bar hop a little bit. Always end your night, I would say, in Roppongi. Roppongi is basically Africa in Japan. It's like where the Ghanaian restaurant is. There's a lot of bars. There's a lot of clubs owned by African people. So you find a lot of Afrobeats. Artists come and perform there. King Promise just performed at R3 in Roppongi. Ruby Rose performed at R3 Roppongi. So there's just a lot of like black culture, let me just say as well, in Roppongi. So it's a very dope place to experience. Food. First visit.
Oh my God, let's talk food, yeah.
Ramen for sure. Abura soba for sure. Abura soba,
yeah.
it's spicy oil noodle.
Okay, so
it's
noodles.
brothless, soupless, like oil, garlic, everything good.
No, I can taste it.
Another thing, sushi. What? Sushi, because I have friends in Ghana who like sushi and they spend like hundreds and hundreds of cedis, right, buying it. In Japan, sushi is $1 and it goes around on a conveyor belt. Great times, guys. And honestly, food in Japan, everything is so good.
Do you think there's a difference?
There's what?
Ghana sushi and the sushi you've tried here. The one
yes.
you've tried in...
I mean, sushi's not really native to Ghana, so it's not that good in Ghana, obviously. Okay. It's kind of like how Ghanaian food in Japan is also not that good. But yeah, I would say sushi for sure. Yakiniku is always like a black person's favorite whenever they visit Japan because it's like barbecue. You can't go wrong. You cook it. It's so good. I don't know what other foods, but for shopping, I would recommend Shibuya, Harajuku area. A lot of the brands is cheaper to buy in Japan than abroad. So like Nike, Bape, whatever the brand, because of the exchange rate, a lot of people are buying in Japan right now.
I was just gonna ask, is Japan expensive to live in?
So the thing is that...
Wait, vacation and then to live a regular life.
Okay, so this is interesting because people, I feel like, off the cuff, assume that Japan is expensive. Japan day-to-day living is very, very cheap. Like, living in Ghana, so many things in Japan are cheaper than being here. Food, hair products, the day-to-day stuff, Japan's cheap. Rents can be expensive. But apart from that, it's very, very cheap. So
where do you live when you're in Japan?
I live like 30 minutes away from Tokyo. 30 to 40 minutes.
What's the situation?
Oh, so my grandma's house is still... It's not a house, it's an apartment. My grandma's apartment in Japan, that's where I live. So I commute like 40 minutes, 50 minutes to Tokyo, do what I need to do, and then come back to the countryside. Yeah, we actually live in Saitama, which is the countryside.
So you live in two places? Oh.
Yeah.
Like for 2 years?
I live in Saitama. Okay. I just commute to Tokyo.
For work?
For work, friends, whatever. Yeah, it's like living in Tema and coming to like...
So not that far?
Not that far.
How'd you get by it?
Train.
You train a lot?
Transportation system in Japan, so good. So good. Trains, everything. You can go everywhere with trains, walk. Cars are very, very expensive. Not many families have cars, and not many people use taxis. I always say I want to be rich enough so that after every night out, I can take a taxi back home because taxis are so expensive.
Oh, wow.
Which is why on a night out in Japan, people stay out till the first train in the morning. So if you miss your last train to go back home, you stay out till morning.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But like, what do you think from like the stories I've told you about Japan and the context about Japan? What do you think you want to do most when you visit? Because God willing, hopefully this podcast takes us to Japan, right?
Yeah. When this podcast takes us to Japan. But Japan. Where do I start? Honestly, I don't want to lie. I know exactly what I want to do the first one. Like, there are lots of law firms. Sorry. There are lots of law firms and a lot of private equity firms that I've been eyeing from here in Japan.
There's no way.
And interestingly, Aoki. Oh, I hope I'm not saying her name.
Steve Aoki,
wrong.
the DJ?
No. So a friend of mine. So we became friends because she came to intern for a bit. She was doing the
Homestay.
Yeah, homestay. And then she was working for a bit. She was interning for a bit at our firm. And we talked a lot. And I really like the firm she works with back home in Japan and things like that. So she really gave me like an insight into...
There's no way I just asked Ama Governor, what are you looking forward to most in Japan? And she just replied, to go to a law firm in Japan.
Yeah.
Wow. I thought you would have said to like buy the sex toys or like... Because you know the sex toy industry in Japan is very, very big. We need to talk about that. Okay,
Tell me.
So that's going to take us into our next segment, dating in Japan. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, let's go. Dating in Japan.
What is dating like in Japan?
What is dating like?
How do people approach people? Do people do dates? When they go on dates, who pays? Are there rules like that about who pays? Do girls try not to eat too much? Do they eat like just a little bit?
Demure, very cutesy.
Very cutesy, very demure. How do the guys act? How do guys act in Japan when they like a girl? Like, how does the girl know?
Okay, to be fair, dating in Japan...
anime-y? Is it like given anime or
There's
is it
no way
real
you
life?
just asked me if dating in Japan is like anime, but we're gonna move forward. Dating in Japan, right? Honestly, I don't have much experience because I'm married to my subscribers and stuff.
Right.
But I don't know much. But according to what I hear from my friends, there's very different groups of people. Okay, let me break it down. The Japanese man who wants to date a foreign woman. There's Japanese men, the same way there's Ghanaian men that want to date foreign women. There's Japanese men who want to date foreign women. Funny enough, my hair lady, while she was doing my hair, was telling me that there's actually a Facebook group to warn Japanese women about white men who come to Japan to date Japanese women and basically impregnates them and leave. So there's a group chat to warn Japanese women about
white men.
About white men who do that. So anyways, there's the Japanese man interested in foreign woman. Then there's the American military guy. What do I mean by that? Is America has a bunch of military bases in Japan, and the people who live on those bases are American people, and they come off those bases into real land, and real land,
mixed with civilians,
civilians, and essentially like they would end up. Essentially, the foreign people in Japan, right? There's not many foreigners, so like the military American guys is like one segment of men available. Okay, now the next segment of like men or women available are the models and rappers and entertainers. A lot of those people are mixed. I have this weird thing about not being really attracted to... Let me not say this and end up dating a Blasian person, but I'm not really drawn to Blasian people because they all look like my siblings.
No, but that's funny because let's just give a little bit of a context. We both, when we were younger, we liked mixed people when we were younger.
From even when I was younger, I didn't have like a country.
No, not a country. That's what I'm saying.
I just like pretty boys. But it didn't have to be mixed. It could be like full black or white.
Marissa, we talked about this.
No, but for me, it wasn't just mixed. It was pretty boys. Like pretty boys. Yeah. So like black pretty boys, Asian pretty boys. I just had like a pretty boy era, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I thought you had okay. But I think,
So I had,
So for me, like growing up is given not aversion, obviously, but like I'm just very aware about what informed my like going for mixed boys and girls before, but like
what do you think influenced you being attracted to mixed people?
Hell no.
That's a topic for another day, huh?
Yeah.
Speaking of that being a topic of another day, it's something weird that also I did is when I was like a kid, I drew a picture of me and my boyfriend having a date. Like this is when I was like 6, 7. Do you know what race my boyfriend was in the picture that I drew?
Yellow.
White.
What do you mean?
Like the guy that I drew.
Like Caucasian.
Caucasian.
Or you just mean by virtue of the fact that the paper was white?
No, Caucasian because the hair was blonde.
Oh, he
looked like Justin Bieber.
Yeah.
But the funny thing, but that was when I was a kid. I drew that picture. But obviously, growing up, I've never really dated a white person before. So I think that came a lot from
never.
Yeah, I've never dated a white person before. So
you've never dated a person of Caucasian descent.
No.
No?
So I feel like media I consumed probably influenced what I thought my husband was going to be like.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, so I think that's very interesting.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, but we'll definitely talk about us, our tendencies, and how our dating lives might have been influenced in race-wise. But what's dating like in Japan? Like I said, different pockets of people. The African-American military men, the Japanese men who like dating foreigners.
Yeah.
But we spoke about this, and I want to really talk about this. This is the part that's tricky about dating in Japan, okay?
Tell me.
It's not just dating in Japan. I think this is something black girls struggle with dating in any country, is that you live in Japan. I understand Japanese men are not going to be drawn to me, right? Because I'm not their type. Like, Japanese men, they probably like Japanese girls. It makes sense to me.
You're a Japanese girl. But I get what you mean. Like,
Yeah,
fully a Japanese girl.
A fully Japanese girl. I would very much
But I
be
swear
not.
they would not mind, like, half Japanese, half Caucasian. Like, a white-looking Japanese that has, like, a interesting...
Ooh, you bring a very good point.
Yeah.
So let's bring that to later, because there's very much a difference between being Black Asian and white Asian, right? The Japanese men are not going to be attracted to me, right? Majority of them, because they're drawn to their own species of people, Japanese women. But this is what makes dating hard, I think, for Black girls, is that, I don't know why I did this at Black girls, but
Go on.
is the fact that Black men are also attracted to the white or the Japanese woman. So essentially, the Black girlies are left with nothing. Is what me and my friends were talking about. Because I think I got lucky with college. I went to Atlanta. I went to Georgia Tech. There's a lot of Black people in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So honestly,
And
dating
who would also just regard you as Black. Like,
exactly.
Not even, yeah.
So dating in college for me was so much fun. But I was having conversations with my friends recently how a lot of friends around me around the age of 25 to 26 have never had a boyfriend or might still be virgins in life. And that came from the fact that if they didn't enter a relationship...
You're not a virgin.
I never said about me. This is all about other
Okay,
people.
so you're a virgin then.
I'm married.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't even really know what virgin means, if I'm being honest with you.
Okay.
Olive oil is all I know. Anyways, so, like, what was I even fucking saying?
Okay, dating in Japan.
Dating in Japan. Well... Okay. So yeah, dating in Japan, there's different pockets of people and there's different dating experiences.
But like just even specifically.
Oh no, the Black girl thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, but a lot of my full Black friends around me talk about this because my friends brought up this conversation of how are we 25, 26 and we're single, we've never been in relationships and we're also like virgins. And we were breaking it down that it actually makes sense because if you didn't enter a relationship in high school and now if you go to college in a place where it's predominantly white or Asian and those men are not attracted to you and your Black brothers are also dating them, you're left with no fish in the sea. Hence why they've been single their whole lives. And I thought,
see.
you know, that'll be something interesting to talk about with you because you're a full Black girly.
Yeah.
Like, do you experience that?
So in Ghana, there's like such, well, I don't know to say subtle, as far as even the artists put it in their music. Like last night I had plantain chips. So it's a really
oh my gosh, no,
popular
wait. We need
song.
to tell people about that song.
Yeah,
that's
what I
actually an
was just
insane
gonna,
song.
like
if you
give a
think
bit of
about it.
background. It's a really popular song in West Africa and Ghana. Where the lyrics just go, last night I had plantain chips, ma koko plantain chips. Ma koko, again, local dialect, Tree language. It basically means a lighter tone woman, right? That's a ma koko, right? So lighter tone women, right? Like we call them fair in Ghana. So honestly, and it's funny because over here it's weird, but I'll talk about the general thing and talk about just a little bit of pretty privilege in that sense because I do experience that sometimes, like subtle and also more direct, like people saying like, you'd be so pretty if you were fair.
Really?
Yeah, but this was also way back, like way back when I was younger. Like when, this shit if she was fair, she would be so beautiful. So weird.
That's crazy.
But yeah, but also like I said, they call it fair. You know, it's interesting. It's kind of like the color thing. But anyway,
yeah,
I don't think I've heard anywhere else where they call light-skinned women fair.
Do you notice there's a difference between being a fair, light-skinned girl dating versus Black girls dating here?
I do think that a lot of men are very open, a lot of Ghanaian men, and not just even Ghanaian, because I've experienced this with some Nigerians, I've experienced this with some Kenyans, where they shut up. I've experienced this where they would overtly say how they have a preference for someone who is lighter, and they always go to how they are so much darker, like they need some light, they need some brightness, and then they also go to their kids immediately. They're like, oh no, me, I want to have a nice child, like I want to have a nice child, right? And then also when they want to compliment you, right, they use chocolate. It's so crazy because usually this is more in the like American context, but I've had those experiences in Ghana where you're like you're really, wow, I like your chocolate skin. But also you see, in that sense, I don't really think of it too much like the way it would mean in the US context. Like when Ghanaian men would say to me, like a dark-skinned Ghanaian man would say to me, or whatever, a Ghanaian man would say to me, oh, I really like your chocolate skin, or whatever. And that's where the privilege, pretty privilege comes in a bit, because I think mine has been watered down a bit because of a bit of
because you're pretty
privilege that people will tell me of.
Okay,
not that I know of.
No,
but
that's
like
right.
That people
You
would
have
tell
pretty
me of
privilege because you're pretty. I love it.
Shut up. Because, and I'm just saying this also because I had a time in Kenya where it was the strangest thing that ever happened to me.
Okay.
They were acting like the Kenyans were dead, acting like I dropped from the sky. No, at a point, it was so bad. I was there for just 5 days. By the 4th, 5th day, I started looking down when I was walking. No, because now I was actually getting so tired. As in, the whole day was already tiring. And every time I had to be saying, oh, thank you so much. 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 Oh, thank you. In Kenya, like they were asking me, where am I from? They couldn't even fathom that I was West African. I didn't understand it. Like,
okay, so I want to know about this because what you just mentioned, right? I'm not surprised about the fact that you're saying you're pretty. You're pretty. But I remember Nubuke saying when she went to Morocco, people treated her like she was a queen there. So I'm sure depending on the country you go to in Africa,
even
there's
Turkey,
also...
I hear people are very, go on.
And the whole conversation about different shades of black and how that influences dating, I feel like that's a whole different podcast episode. But the reason why I brought it up is because when you ask what is dating like in Japan, that describes it. There's different pools of people available, and obviously being a black girl, there's very also not the entire pool available back to you.
Yeah.
But but
I really understood what your friends were talking about, like your dark skin friends, and talking about how it makes sense that they aren't dating right now. You know, coming from that analysis, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I felt my light skin privilege very much so, especially in that context too, because I feel like even with the black men who tend to go for non-black girls, I'm always still a little bit in their pockets of pool. But to be fair, I wouldn't even want to. Anyways,
for like that reason,
for that reason.
Yeah, I feel
But dating in Japan, culturally, race-wise, has that background. But I want to talk to you about something.
What?
So there's a viral TikTok. I want you to open up your phone right now to check out. And it's basically a Japanese YouTuber going around and asking people if prostitution is considered cheating where you're from. First of all, as a lawyer, is prostitution illegal? What did you think I was coming to say? Why did you squint your face like that?
Sex work. Yeah. So for me, I'd say unfortunately, sex work is illegal. It's a crime in particular in Ghana to solicit for sex. That's what they say, right? So as to how you just tell, and that's why they don't like actively enforce it, or it's hard to enforce it, because the law says soliciting for sex, right? Where you're like saying, hey, you know,
gotcha.
But then these girlies are just standing by the roadside. Cute outfits.
So in Japan, prostitution is like, it's weird to say, it's very much exists in the culture. And I don't know if it's illegal.
Wait, when you say prostitution, what do you mean?
In the video you're about to watch, he's going to ask people if huzoku is considered cheating. And huzoku is just basically like different places where sex work might happen, like massage parlors, different scenarios. So go ahead, watch the...
風俗に行くことは浮気かどうかっていう、どう思いますか？
浮気じゃない。浮気じゃない。気持ちの浮気は嫌なんですけど、まあ性欲の浮気は別に勝手にしてくれるんやったらいいかな。一般人と連絡取れる間でやられるよりは、店でちゃんとしてもらった方がいいです。イエス。
なんかわざわざ風俗に行く意味がわからない。
秘密にしてたらあれだけど、まあ情に恋とかしなければいいじゃないか。
浮気ではない
隠さなければ浮気じゃない。浮気するなら風俗に行けって言ったことあります。金払えばいいよって言ったことあります。
新しいね、出会いじゃなくてお金払って言ってるなら別にいいから。
納得できる理由だったら浮気とは思わないかも。
例えばどういう
付き合い？
例えば上司とかの
怒るけど言ってもまだ許せる、風俗なら。
なんか日本ならではのなんか文化じゃないけど、やっぱり有名じゃないですか、風俗とかっていうのが。そういう意味では日本ならではで、そう。
thing. So in this video that you're just seeing, right, I think you saw the part of him asking males,
Yeah.
but the one that really went viral was him asking women if they consider their man going to a sex worker cheating. And a lot of women said no because there's no emotions attached to it. A lot of women were on the side that if their man is going to just get sexually pleased with no emotions attached and it's not someone they know in their real day-to-day life, that's not considered cheating.
I see.
So
like even if they go the full extent of having
even if
sex.
they go the full extent.
I see.
So, and that's been a part of like Japanese culture from time.
Really?
From generations.
I need to live in Japan.
Like couples from back in the day, it's almost like an unspoken rule. You don't ask, you don't tell, but you can go and handle your business at professional places. But it's not considered cheating was how it's been in Japan for a while.
I see.
Younger generations is changing a little bit. You look very, very excited and happy.
I am.
Okay.
I am.
So, would you consider, I guess you are not a monogamous relationship
Yeah.
girly, so I would have to ask myself this question,
Yeah.
but would I consider prostitution cheating?
Yeah, would
I
you?
would.
Yeah, of course you would. I already knew the
would.
answer to that.
But if I'm being honest with you, I would. In what situation wouldn't I? If I was like 60, if I was like 60 and like we've been married for 40 years and we're bored of each other, honestly, I would not consider it cheating. Yeah. But I think at this stage of my life where I'm still petty, yeah, I would consider
It's
it
not
cheating.
even about like you want exclusivity. That's
I do want
something
exclusivity.
That's, a lot of girls in their 20s. It's very common to find a lot of girls in their 20s wanting like. I mean, they could have the pre-period where they would experience and whatever they want to do, but then I feel like it's very common to find in a lot of girls in their 20s that they do want that true love, that like dreamy, sweet, exclusive, monogamous, just happily ever after, which is very valid.
I think mine is very much
Very
more
valid.
like less happily ever, like less more.
Like let's make each other happy for as long as it
it's more
lasts.
like let's just, you know. But anyways, I would consider it cheating, but I don't know. You see, Japanese dating culture has a lot of interesting things. It's not just the fuzoku. There's a whole other thing called the host and hostess club culture, okay?
I see.
And I actually want the production team, I want to hear your opinion on if you guys would consider this cheating. So let me explain what host and hostess club culture in Japan is, okay?
do.
Host clubs are establishments in Japan where female customers pay for male company. Hostess club is the opposite. So essentially, either a female customer goes and pays for male company or a male customer goes and pays for female company.
What's the extent they could go?
Okay, so it's not anything sexual. They're literally considered bars and restaurants where you get assigned a male or female to come and sit with you at your table and conversate. So a lot of like business owners go to these places where like they have these conversations and the person is essentially just supposed to be like entertaining you, just like making the area like nice, sociable, and they get paid based on the bottles and drinks you buy. So now these hosts and hostess girlies and men are essentially influencers as well because they get such a huge following when like, oh, this person bought this person a $5 million bottle, obviously not 5 million, maybe like $50,000 bottle, they get commission. So these hosts and hostess girlies and men are millionaires now and they have millions of followers on social media. Anyways, so nothing sexual. You just go there, have a nice time, talk. But the reason why it has a negative connotation is some people call them romance scams, right? Essentially, it's like a very nice bartender. So like if you come to my place and like you like talking to me, obviously you'll be buying me drinks. Now this is a bigger scale of that where now they're not just buying $8 drinks, it's $80,000 bottles. So now there's manipulation. There's me letting you like me a little bit just so that you buy me more expensive things. There's debt and exploitation. There's like some illegal situations where it does go sexual and it's not pleasant for people. So there's a negative side of it, but it's very much like a part of Japanese dating culture that's been existing for a long time.
Dating culture.
Like the dating world.
When they get to really like themselves.
When I say dating culture, I don't mean dating in terms of relationships, just like the dating sphere of like love relationships, like host and hostess clubs are like a part that exist in that sphere. So to people in this room, I know Atma, you are not monogamous, but as males, if your girlfriend or wife goes to a host club to just host club, what I just explained, you sit down, a male, handsome male that your girlfriend has selected. They have pictures on the wall. She selected that man to come and sit at her table and to entertain. Would you guys feel a type of way? No. Okay, you? Yes. Okay, you? Yes. Okay, you said no. Why did you say no? So your girlfriend, she selected a man from the wall. Like, she's picked, I like the way this man looks. And come and sit at my table and we're coming to drink together and you're supposed to entertain. For you, you'll be okay with that? Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay, so he said he's okay with it because it's a culture and tradition that they've all agreed on. Okay. Wait, before you go on, I want to tell them what you just said about Kenyan people. So you said there's a tradition in maybe some parts of Kenya or some parts of the world where a man can have his wife come into their household and that wife can sleep with the man's brothers. Interesting. Okay, so you're saying depending on the part of the world you're coming from, there's different things that are accepted. That's why you would be okay with it. Would you consider it's a type of way if someone went to...
I don't, just because of, in general, you know how I feel about human feelings being so fleeting and just like, me, I'm just no restraints, like unnecessary restraints on yourself. I'm not for that. So I would say like to just go and chat and have a good time and just feel whatever it is you want to feel. Because for me, outside of being in a relationship or being in love with someone is then the you aspect, like everything else that you knew before you met this person. And like, what is it to go talk to somebody? And for me, I feel like of course, anyone can feel how they want to feel. For me, it's two things. You could feel how you want to feel and not necessarily act crazy on it. Like go and try to stop the date or like go and interrupt it. Like for me, that's very rude and no one is ever doing that to me. But yeah, there's also like just fully acting on it, and that for me also is a no-no. Like, don't come and try to control, like, oh, you can, so for me, I think people should do what they want to do.
I'd love to go to a host club when I'm in Japan, and I'd love to make a vlog out of it. But the only thing is that the host men in Japan, they're not my type. The host men in Japan are not my type. So let me tell you something. When you come
they
to
need
Japan,
to have host and hostess clubs for everyone's types. Like,
okay, they
different ones. Or is it just one?
No, host men, they have a particular look. So when you go to Japan, you'll see a bunch of vans around Tokyo with men's faces on it. And essentially, these vans are promoting these men. They are kind of like influencers, but they are host people, right?
Wow, yeah.
So now, these faces, they are not faces that I'm particularly drawn to, but the whole culture of going to a host club, I'd love to experience. Okay,
guys, so we're about to enter into our membership only segment, guys.
Membership only.
And what does that mean, Marissa?
Yes.
Real quick, what does membership mean?
Membership
How do people
only.
become or get access to membership content?
Okay, so if you're a huge fan of the Girls Who Cook podcast and you want to support us more than just watching or listening on the platforms that is available for free, come to our YouTube channel and join membership. What does that mean? For $4.99 a month, you can get exclusive content. There's some topics we don't want to talk about to just everyone.
Yeah.
Sometimes we want to drink and have, drinking segments that we might not want to put out to everyone. So membership is going to be a little fun. For lack of better terms, OnlyFans.
I don't want to go that far, but the general idea of that, just the exclusive content that you really would not get anywhere else.
Yes.
We can assure you.
Speaking of membership begins, actually, I think I want to kick off today's membership about me talking about the title of this podcast. I'm not Chinese.
The story that we've been waiting for.
So if you guys want to hear this story, to be honest, this story is not that dramatic, but please join the membership only. So one thing about this I'm not Chinese
story.
I'm not Chinese is today's podcast title.
Yes.
Let me tell you guys a little story time about something that happened this past week for me in Ghana, okay? So like I mentioned earlier, when I was younger, I used to be a lot more sensitive to like being called Obroni or being called foreigner in Japan. I've become so desensitized to it that it's now that in my life, people in America and Japan are like, hey, you're okay with this person saying this? I'm so desensitized to it because in Ghana, a lot of these racial comments, they're not seen as offensive or racist.
Yeah,
so they just go, right?
Yeah.
So I was at Vida E Cafe in Ghana, and I don't know if the man was a manager or an owner.
Yeah.
Something to do with management, I assume. He looked Moroccan or Egyptian. I can't tell.
Okay.
Lebanese, maybe. I don't know. I don't know where his background was from. But when my friend Nubuke, who's a YouTuber in Ghana, and I were in line, he comes up to me and he's like, let me see your eyes. Where are you from? So I'm like, I'm Japanese. And he goes, no, you're Chinese. I'm like, no, I'm Japanese. And he goes, no. Japanese and Chinese people,
Like
it's the same thing.
Or was
What?
he serious?
No, he's playing, but
Yeah,
he's playing. He's like, no. Japan and China, what's the difference? Like, they're the same thing. I was like, haha, you're right. What's the difference? Haha. So this is me in most contexts. I just laugh it off and brush it off. Honestly, it's not that deep of a conversation. I forget about it in seconds. But sometimes when I have my friends who have more Western or like background, they become very uncomfortable. Nubuke, our social justice warrior, we love her. It was so clear in like a second because she felt uncomfortable for me because she's like, why is this random man coming to tell my friend that she's Chinese when she's already told the man she's Japanese?
Yeah.
Now, if this was one encounter, this would not be a podcast story, okay?
Yeah.
We get our drinks, we sit down at the table.
Oh no, the story continues.
Yes, we
Go
get
on.
our drinks, we sit down at the table. The man comes back to me again, taps me on my shoulder. He says, where are you from again? I wanted to confirm. Can I see your eyes again?
Wait. Was
Second
he
time.
drinking?
This is coffee shop daytime. I'm assuming he's not drinking. He comes up to me. He's like, where are you from? I say Japanese. He's like, no, you're Chinese. You look the same as Chinese people. How are we supposed to know the difference between what Chinese people and Japanese
my
people look like?
God.
Mind you, I would like to say this whole people look the same thing. I'm never offended by it because my mom thinks all Ghanaian people look the same. I think any race you're not familiar with, you think they all look the same. So it's not the fact that of what he said that might offend me. It's the fact that like, are you dumb or are you stupid? Because you asked me where I'm from, I've answered, but you want to tell me a different answer. So why are you
Okay,
even
so you
asking
start
me the
getting
question?
upset yourself.
No, because I don't care. You know, there's not many things in life that make me upset.
Right,
you know
right,
me?
right.
But kind of Nubuke is kind of getting upset for me in terms of she's not saying anything, but her face is just giving it
saying
all.
everything.
Now, this is the final, the cherry on the cake, as people would say. There was an Asian man sitting next to us at the coffee shop. He taps me and he goes, your best friend, your brother is sitting at your next table. He's Japanese too. Wait for it. This is the best part. So now the man next to me is looking at me. He's like, oh, hi. And I'm like, hi, are you Japanese? The man goes, no, I'm not Japanese. I'm not Japanese. The man is just as...
Oh my goodness.
We're just...
Was the person still standing there when you were even asking?
Yes, he's standing in between us. Now, mind you, he's in a managerial role probably of this business. He's standing in between me and Vida. Because he was going into the kitchen and
I
stuff.
think I know.
Yeah. Mind you, again, I don't think this man had any bad intention. I don't think he even realized that Nubuke's face was changing or what he was saying that was uncomfortable.
Clearly,
Because
he lacks a lot of like awareness.
So now the person in the next table is kind of looking at me. I'm looking at him. We're both like, wow, this random man is kind of telling us we're from the same
Wait,
country,
could you
but
tell
we're
if
not.
the person was feeling uncomfortable or upset?
I mean, I think we're both just like a little bit awkward because clearly we're both not from the same country, but we're
Okay,
being
so you
tapped.
could feel the awkward energy.
100%. So now, like this man in between us, right? In my head, I just start thinking. So now if I come and ask you, where are you from? And you tell me, like, let's say Morocco. And I tell you, but you and a Lebanese person, what's the difference? Am I now going to get cancelled? Because honestly, I wasn't upset about it when this whole thing was happening.
Yeah.
When we went back into the car, Nubuke and I started vlogging and talking about it. And it just made me realize more and more how ridiculous the situation was. Again, guys, this is very like... these are things that don't stress me, so these are happy problems. That they are not even problems. I know that this is just like for conversation's sake. But I was literally like, what is this man's point in asking me where I'm from, only to tell me I'm from a different place, to reiterate the fact that two countries look the same. The only thing that pisses me off about certain racist comments towards Asians is that I feel like Asian people are seen as they have to sit there and take it. And if they say anything back to a black person, all of a sudden it's so much worse.
A black person?
A black or white or any person.
Like this person in particular was
This
like
person in
even
particular.
Yeah.
Because this, I feel like a lot of people just think Asian people, they're kind of weak. They're going to sit there and take it. They're going to tolerate whatever. Because even, you know, right after the BLM thing happened, there was a lot of Asian hate crimes in America, and the mannerisms of differences as to how the situations were dealt with, the stories behind them, it was a little bit different. So I just started thinking like, this man that's here, if I said the same thing towards you, how would you react? Was what I started thinking. And you know, everyone's always joking, and honestly I laugh with them sometimes because I don't take it too seriously about Asian people looking the same, but I'm like, high key, if my mom and all these Asian people openly said the same thing about black people or Middle Eastern people, it would be considered like way more worse. But I mean, I don't know, Amma, you live in Ghana as well. What do you think about that situation? Like why the fuck are they calling me Chinese? Like, can you call me Japanese for a second? Like, what the fuck?
I think like, okay, so if we're being real, I think obviously it may be not a stretch, but maybe it may be ill-conceived to think that people would just be able to know, for instance, the exact nationality. But then at the same time, instead of like not even just insisting on a particular nationality for somebody, but instead of guessing a particular nationality, I usually go with like Asian, and then I ask. Like for me, I would always ask. I just always ask. I remember when you came to see me in the cells. Do you remember the officer that kept?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So literally, by the way, this is not a rare occurrence for me to be called Chinese. It's like a once a day thing. So it's like quite frequent. So hence why I'm desensitized. But to people around me, especially if they're not used to how it is in Ghana, they're
and if
gonna
they
be
have
like
that like context,
and
are racially aware.
Exactly. Because what Amma is talking about is I went to go and see her at cells, and then the officer was like, "Where are you from? Chinese?" Yeah. So obviously, like, I'm just like, honestly,
these challenges that you face, I try to like think about, you know, I guess
I don't even consider it challenges, because if I'm being honest with you,
right.
in a world where like we have Dumso, we have Galamsey, me being called Chinese by a Ghanaian person is not something that stresses me enough to be considered a problem. But to me, in this particular scenario about why it's a conversation, is that I think there's a difference in like being joking about it and also being ignorant about it versus just being repetitive, socially unaware, and a little bit disrespectful.
Yeah, disrespectful.
Yeah, because like you're asking me a question, I'm answering, and you're repeatedly telling me that my answer is like clearly wrong. So why are you even asking me the question?
Yeah.
You know, I feel like you
even downplayed the story a bit.
Oh, 100%. Amma, you know how there's a little bit something wrong with me about situations and how I don't see.
No, yeah, I feel you.
A lot of situations don't bother me as much as they bother a typical person. Yes. So that was a little story that happened. And my mom constantly gets called Chinese in Ghana, right? And this is what makes it tricky as well. It's not like all Asian countries get along. I'm not saying Japanese people and Chinese people don't get along, but a lot of them don't. There's a lot of cultural behind the scenes about East Asian countries, and like Japan and China has like historical background to which a lot of Japanese people would hate being called Chinese, and maybe vice versa for Chinese people for Japan. So I'm not saying that's the case with my mom in particular. I don't think she has anything against Chinese people, but I'm saying that to a lot of Japanese people, it would be offensive, right? So now if you're calling... Anyways,
do you know a little bit about that context?
What?
Do you know a little bit of that?
I don't know too much about it. It spans to many years, and again, I dropped out of college. I just really think about TikTok and views and stuff. I don't know
Right.
much about it, guys.
Yeah, but like I was saying, so not challenges, but just these incidents.
Yeah.
I try to think of ways in which I maybe have faced similar discriminatory practices, if you will. And of course, I like as a dark-skinned girl who's lived my whole entire life in Ghana, where we're mostly dark-skinned. Of course, there are those instances like I told you about this whole plantain chips, like men overtly saying that they would prefer lighter skinned girls and things like that. And also the pretty privilege, which kind of waters it down for me a bit. But like, I don't think I experienced anything close to obviously what you'd experience. Like, no one will come and be like, "Hey, you're from Uganda. You must be from Uganda." You know what I mean?
No, yeah,
No, I
I hear
haven't
you.
experienced. And then I told you about like, how I experienced in Kenya, where people were acting like they were like, "Oh, it's so from Ghana, huh?" Like so
100%.
confused. But also just discrimination in general. I do get discriminated on because I'm openly queer, for instance.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Being a queer black girl is like, I'm sure, different from being just a black girl and being queer.
Absolutely. And being not just even black, like I feel like also you see black for me is more
African,
but like
yeah.
let me say African, being West African, being Ghanaian and living in West Africa all my life, you definitely get discriminated. And it's so funny because when I was younger and I started liking boys, I started liking girls pretty much the same. I didn't
Really?
know everyone else in the world didn't.
Really?
It was the radios and the comments in church, and the when they're praying against sins and then they list those saints, or when we're watching a movie and my mom goes, change the station. What are they doing? Why are two girls? Whatever, right? That's when I said,
What were you watching that
wait,
two
I'm
girls
supposed
were
to stick
kissing
to
at that
only
time?
boys.
Oh, like what?
It was
Do you
like-
remember like what media you were? Because like what TV show?
TV at the time, right?
Yeah,
Which
what was it?
It would if it wasn't two girls kissing, for instance, it would be like the conversation about it, right? Or even news about it, like even the aversion to like hearing something like that about it, how they react, or they speaking in agreement with what they would hear on radio about people being homophobic, like people on radio being homophobic, and they reaffirming it. And so for me, I'm just like, oh, you're not supposed to I'm supposed to stick to men, eh? So for the longest time till I was 19, I was like, hey, we like only men.
That's too funny.
Yeah. No, so in terms of discrimination, yes.
Being queer in Africa, obviously a whole podcast topic.
Oh,
maybe.
yeah, different
And
thing.
that one will definitely have a lot of membership only segments.
But even I've heard so much about like queer spaces in Asia.
Also, I think another reason why I'm desensitized to it is I know the type of discrimination that my dad faced, like in Japan. This might go back to earlier on in this podcast, but like how the family accepted him probably is not the way you would imagine. Like
No, tell me.
they definitely did not accept it in. We can laugh about it now because everything is swell, but they waited for my granddad to pass away before they got married because it was like, what? You're going to marry a black person? And you can imagine that it's not coming from a place of hate. Literally, there weren't black people in Japan at that time, right? Obviously not zero, but very minimal. So to these old Japanese grandparents of mine, it's like, our daughter has gone to university in America. Now she's going to come and marry a black person, let alone an African person. Probably there's a jungle in Africa. Like probably he's, I don't know, a bad person. All the possible bad stereotypes that could have existed. It was what? My grandmother is 95. She was alive during World War II. Very different times, you know. So once my granddad passed away, they got married. And my grandma was against it in the beginning, but now she loves my granddad. I mean, now she loves my dad.
Yeah.
But obviously, with the discriminatory stories I hear from my dad, and being called Obroni or being called Chinese by a cafe owner doesn't super affect me. But I do get that I also shouldn't minimize problems. My friends tell me that, Marina, you minimize certain problems because I think sometimes in my head I'm like, if it's not a big problem, it's a non-problem.
Do they have a term for like black people, or did they have a term before for black people? Like were there words or
Yes.
terms that your dad would be referred to by?
So I don't know about him, but actually there's a word called kurombo in Japanese, which is a derogatory black person term. And how I heard it for the first time was when I was on a bus in
Wait, not a derogatory black person term, like a derogatory term to refer to black people.
black
right?
people.
Yeah.
Yes. The first time I heard it was in a bus in Japan where a granddad was like, "Wow, kurombo zutto atte nakatta na." Like he was like, "Wow, I didn't know black people were still around." And he was saying it legitimately to me and my girlfriends. But mind you, I wasn't offended because this granddad was like in his 90s and he was literally saying it out of a place of like, "Wow, Obama igai mitakoto nakatta." He was saying like, "Oh, I hadn't seen a black person since Obama." So from saying that, I'm assuming this man does not know what Instagram is, what social media is, probably doesn't have a phone, probably lives in a rural part of Japan. So you see, when a person like that says things like that, I don't get offended. I'm like, he's ignorant, you know? So there's a lot of desensitization on my part, but yeah, it's I can totally hear you when you say that a lot of the discrimination for you has been from a place of your sexuality, not your background. Because if I'm
Not
being
just
honest,
my sexuality, like even primarily my gender.
yeah,
as
yeah,
a
yeah.
woman.
I've been very lucky. I never experienced intense bullying or intense racism in Ghana or Japan.
What's the most intense you've ever experienced anywhere in the world, and where?
Like nothing, like really.
Really?
Just like maybe someone not sitting on a train next to me, which someone called it black privilege because we get to have 2 seats. But like,
Wait,
you know,
what?
Yeah.
Wait, but do you think it was like? Was there anything that showed that it was because they viewed you as black?
You
And
can't. You
this
can
was
never.
in the U.S.
No, in Japan, you can never like confirm or deny, right? Because you're not now gonna come and ask everyone that's standing in the train. By the way, there's a seat open next to me. Is it because perhaps melanin that you're not coming to sit next to me? It's not like I'm not going to come and ask all these people, right? But it's just clear that Charlie, there's a seat next to me that's open, and clearly no one's coming to sit when all the other seats are full. But to me, I love it. I can put my bag there, you know.
That is so interesting. I'm
Yeah.
so shocked.
Yeah.
Because I do also have, well, I don't personally have other Japanese like mixed friends,
Mm-hmm.
but like I can imagine that there are tones darker than you.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're the most, or you're the more Asian one out of
Yeah.
your like mixed friends.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, like, and even to them, and you also talked about the light skin privilege that you would experience and things like that. But it's like, even to
Let me
even
tell you
being that being light skinned to us or whatever in Japan, you're like, oh, you're black. Like they don't want to sit by you. It's ridiculous.
I mean, to be honest, it's not a common thing for me. It's not like every day I'm thinking, oh, a seat next to me is open. It's
Yeah.
like maybe once in a month, once every 2 months or whatever.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't even think too much about it. But how far and how deep shades and color goes and how that relates to human psychology needs to be studied. Because we're just thinking black in Japan. There's a whole level of shade breakdown in Asia. Southeast Asia. Southeast Asian people would be considered colored in Asia, you know? Like Indian people, Thai people would be considered colored in Asia, whereas like East Asian people would be considered the fair or like, what would I say, yellow? Like I feel like I shouldn't say yellow.
No, I feel like they use the term fair a lot.
Right.
Like, yeah. And I actually see that a lot in K-drama.
It's
I
kinda
actually
like-
see that a lot in KTV, like in Asian TV.
Okay.
I see like a preference for lighter. I see like a
100%.
working towards like even in the products, like the
100%.
beauty products, right? It goes. There's a lot of like lightening and whitening.
Yeah.
Like lightening products. Body.
You
products
would be
and
surprised
Cosmetics. Yeah.
if you come to Japan and you hear some of my Japanese friends considering themselves dark skin. Like they're full Japanese.
Yeah.
The terms are different there. Again, that's why the Tyler conversation, terms are different because she's saying dark skin because she's comparing herself to other Japanese
Yeah.
people. Whereas like to everyone else, it's like, you're not black, you know? But yeah, there's definitely a whole shade
Yeah.
conversation.
And especially
you know,
in
being a
India
Snow White.
that I also know of, like, or I've heard of anyway. In India, there's a serious preference for the lighter Indians way over the darker Indians.
Interesting.
Way over the darker Indians. And it's so bad. Like they don't it's not common to find like a light Indian and a really dark Indian like intermarrying and things like that. Anyway, that's also from a lot of just media.
Yeah. I mean, guys,
You'll
our
see.
episode 2 for today, we just wanted to talk about like our background, me being Japanese, Ghanaian. Honestly, I don't know. Whenever I talk about this, I feel like I'm talking about something so useless because it was honestly other creators that brought it to my attention that it's something that could be interesting. But to me, it was like not something that I think people
No, but
find.
it's been so interesting so far. I think you guys can bear with this as you guys have been watching to this point. Thank you very much. But please, I want you guys to comment below, like just anything that struck you from all of the various conversations we've been having. Because really, for me, I came to like find a lot of really interesting things that I would not have expected. Just, you know, being a dark-skinned girl, like I wouldn't have imagined that in certain places she'd be considered so dark that people wouldn't want to sit by her, for instance. I wouldn't have imagined that she would have been encountering certain people just coming up to her and insisting that she is not what she is. She's not she's not
I have
Japanese,
a question.
she's Chinese. And
so in
on.
those settings, right? With
Yeah.
my personality and not being really affected, do you think I should be confrontational?
That's a really good question. Because
What do you guys think as like men and crew members and being like Ghanaian men? Do you think I should be confrontational in those settings? Like, and the thing that honestly even pissed me off about this guy is he's not even Ghanaian.
Yeah.
Do you get
Yeah.
it? Like, if it was a Ghanaian person saying it, I would have a little bit more understanding. I was like, there's so much I could say about your color.
Like you kept
I don't even know where you're from.
You really you really downplayed the situation and like kept it, you know, because you really almost didn't do.
But it's because I don't get angry. I'm
Absolutely.
just not an angry person. You know, it takes a lot
wasn't
for me
just
to
so
be angry.
political. It became nuisance. Like it became very, no,
But to
because
me,
that's why I
yeah.
said you downplayed the repetitiveness.
Yeah.
And his persistence and his insistence, and whether it was jokey, like of course, like you make a joke 1, 2, 3, you leave it, you know.
Yeah.
But coming back and saying, and then I'm calling another person and making the whole situation awkward. And plus,
Yeah.
you were with somebody, you were with Nubuke.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever interacted with Nubuke in that space of time. Like, you know how you do
Oh,
this
Nubuke
really good
was
thing.
bothered the whole time. That's why I was just like, oh, don't worry, we're just gonna
But did he even
leave.
speak to her? Like, did he ever try
Oh,
to engage?
Yes. Actually, when the whole thing started, he was very fascinated by Nubuke, but that was very short-lived when he saw my eyes, you know. But but clearly, anyways, if you
I'm
guys,
sure he went.
I'm just so used to it. Like honestly, bro,
Yeah, felt.
I'm in Japan and I get the
But I
same
understand how
thing.
you'd be desensitized at
Yes.
this point after the frequency of
Yes.
these events. It makes sense. And then also couple that up with the background that you have.
Yeah.
Being so familiar with Ghana, being so familiar with
Yeah.
like just people's thoughts processes, and they're like kind of real intense. And when you
Yes.
can decipher the difference where someone is being malicious versus where it's innocent, ignorance, or whatever
I'm an
the case
intense
is.
girly.
So I can imagine that
Yeah.
you're like, should I react? Well, I'm really, really desensitized, but also my friends say I downplay shit. But
The
also,
thought of do I react doesn't even occur into my mind until
after
now.
when you're having conversations
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. But before we close this episode, right, I want to mention something.
Please.
We filmed episode 1 last night. And guys, when I say I posted a Q&A on my Instagram story,
Yeah.
questions were in, but more than the questions, the amounts of love for Amma, I love.
Shut
like,
up.
Amma, I don't think you understand the number of people who are actually proud of you.
Oh, God.
And I didn't either. Because like I said in our last episode, not having like a lot of people around me who I would, let's say, call social justice warriors, there's a lot of people like I don't notice from the space I'm in like how much of an impact you're having and the people you're having impacts on, especially not having been in Ghana for a while. Obviously from the DMs that I was getting, I was like, oh my gosh, people were like, tell Amma that we love her, tell Amma that we're proud of her, tell Amma that while she was away, we're still supporting her. So I want to relay their message to you. As much as it's so made loud that Amma has hella hates, Amma has hella supporters. And let me tell you something about the internet. It's better to be hated than to be non-existent. And a lot of you bitches are non-existent in life. So let's talk about that.
Oh my God. That
But-
felt so like...
Period.
That felt so defending me.
did.
Like, girl, defend me. Be my lawyer.
Hearsay,
Oh my God, you
allegedly.
guys, thank you so much. I really, 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 really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate all the love. I see all the love. I hear all the love. I'm not oblivious to it.
Yes.
I'm just like managing myself and managing my energy till I can meet you guys 1,000% again.
Yes.
But that being said, I wanted to say this, even in the first episode, that this is probably the only place that you guys would see me. I'm not even engaging or coming back on my own channel, the Ama Governor channel. If you're familiar, if you're not familiar, guys, I used to run for the last 6 years, I've been running, not the last 6 years, for the last 8 years, I've been running a YouTube channel, except I've been on a break for 2 years. So that's the background. But yeah, I'm not going to be like on Instagram, on Twitter, on all of that. I'm not going to be active on all of that, posting nothing. It's just going to be on here. This is the only place that I'm going to be giving my time to in terms of social media.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The good news is that means you guys can come and watch her on my vlog channel because she's gonna be in some of my vlogs. Let me get Ama's numbers a little bit, you know what I mean? Yeah, we love to see that. Another place that they're gonna see us, you forgot to mention, is Twitch.
Guys,
can I say something to Ghanaian people real quick? Ghanaian people, African people watching. I get that live streaming is a new concept to us. Now, let me explain live. So basically, the YouTube videos you're watching, this podcast, it's been edited. You get to see us cancel all of our mistakes and you get to see us as perfect as possible. But what does live stream mean? It means that you're seeing us in real time. Live, as in what is happening on the screen is happening in real time. What does that mean? If Ama says something, you can't cut it out. If Marintia says something, you cannot cut it out. If something bad happens, you're all gonna see. If something good happens, you're all gonna see. Where can you watch that? Twitch.com/Marintia Echo, where Ama and I will be reacting to podcasts, TV shows, different controversial videos like fat people versus people in shape. You know, there's a lot happening on the internet. So follow us on Twitch. Follow us on all socials. On Instagram, Snapchat at Ama Governor. AMAGOVERNOR.
And Marintia Echo, MARINTIA EIKO. And I did that without watching. The way you had to be watching AMA. Yeah, next time finish college. Next time finish school. But anyway, it's JT. It's Georgia Tech. Damn, girl.
Yeah,
that's
bitch.
such a flag.
Yes, bitch.
Oh my gosh.
Dropped out of Georgia Tech. Okay,
yeah, that's a flex.
period.
No lie.
Thank
That's
you.
a flex. That's a
Ooh,
flex.
I have made it
Guys,
sounds I
so
don't
but
know.
in general, we want to know what you want to see on the next
Yes.
episode. We want to know because this is a pilot season, right? So this is season 1. We're going to be filming in seasons, 10 episodes per season. So help us God. And yeah, like just tell us.
Yeah.
Tell us what you want to see. We're going to make it happen as much as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us who you want to see in terms of the guests that will be coming on.
Do you know something I'm really excited about?
Tell me.
I'm excited to have girl guests on, of course, but I feel like you can imagine girl guests wearing pajamas. I'm so excited for our first male guest who comes on with pajamas because, like we said earlier, all of our episodes were wearing pajamas.
Yeah.
And yeah, let us know what we can do better. These first 5 episodes of season 1 are our pilot episodes.
Yep.
So you can see us using A4 sheets of paper. Very ratchet setup, but I feel like it plays into girlhood. Girlhood is ratchet sometimes. And you and I,
Girlhood
we're
is
not
makeshift. Girlhood is do what you can do, like
Yes.
put things together,
Yes.
improvise,
Okay.
be smart,
Yes.
like think
End
outside
of-
the box.
End of podcast.
That's girlhood.
Topic real quick. Can I mention something?
Please.
I've lost my ass.
No, you haven't. Oh, you
did.
lost weight overnight.
I've lost weight over the past 3 days.
Oh, that's believable considering your very restricted
Wait, you can't
blue
say
bowl
that's
diet.
believable. You told me yesterday I lost weight. Were you lying?
Shoot. Marintia, I can never tell when people lose or gain weight, but I know exactly what girls want to hear, so I just say it. Sorry. But you have.
Ama is a man. Please subscribe, follow, rate our podcast 5 stars. And for my broken heart, please just go and send me some.
Babe, you look good. You look so good. What are you talking about?
Wait, sorry, I think there was something wrong with the audio. Say it again.
Girl, you look so good.
I know that's right.
7 foot tall.
Period.
Fat as ass.
Shit.
Huh? Do you see the hair popping, skin
Period.
popping? What are you
Period.
talking about, girl?
My husbands are lining
Oh
up.
my goodness. Talking about husbands lining up. I don't want to do too much, but one of the episodes that you guys should be looking towards, like, viewing.
You're scaring me. What?
What?
The blind
dates,
episode.
guys. I'm going to set this girl up. Guys, this
Guys.
girl is ready. Nah, she's not ready
No, I'm
like
not
that,
ready.
but like, nah, she's
both
not
are-
ready.
yeah, we're not
But
ready.
it'll be cute still.
It'll be cute.
It'll be
It'll be
cute. The energy will be right. I want to
Yes.
see her shaking in her
Yes.
boots, like
Let me have
not
my
able
fake
to get
internet
out.
relationship for a second, you know. If he wants to be my fake internet boyfriend, help us get some clouds. Please come on. Let's come and
So
date.
let's see. This is the challenge. She thinks it's going to be fake, but we're going to get somebody that's going to actually like try to
Anyways.
invoke real feelings. Guys, we're going to see Marena shaking in her boots, like blushing and shit. Girl, I hope you're light enough for that.
I hope you guys are ready to see Amma with the people I set her up with, because the blind dates episode I think is gonna come in the latter part of season 1.
Yeah.
So if you want to see the latter
Or
parts of
season 2.
or season 2, please continue to support. Again, 5-star rating if you're listening on any audio
And sponsor
platform.
us.
Please, if you would like to sponsor our podcast, please contact us on our business email,
Yes.
Instagram DMs, YouTube.
It would be on your
wherever.
screens.
Yeah, because I want to become rich.
Period.
Bye-bye.
Not capitalist rich, but you get it.
You know, girl, we need to end this podcast. We can't keep going on and on and on. How
But I
do
don't
we
want
end
to
our-
leave them.
I know.
But go to bed, guys, because we're going to bed.
Yes, we're going to bed. And
I'm going to work
hopefully
tomorrow, guys. Please
Yeah.
sleep well, and thank you so much for watching.
We'll see you guys next episode, next Sunday.
Yeah, next Sunday. Bye, my loves.
Bye.
Mwah.
Good night.
Bye.